Welcome to Latino Talk TV. I'm your host, Ben Mendez, joined by my co-host, Mr. Javier Perez. And we have some special guests who we'll introduce in just a minute. But first, I want y'all to know that we have a presidential race going on in Iowa. And today is either Trump Day or no Trump Day. Guess we'll find out soon. We have
Iowa caucuses. That sounds funny. Iowa caucus. Say that fast real quick. Iowa caucuses.
I can't even say it that fast. But we're going to be talking to Mr. Felix Fraga, who's an icon in our community. And he needs no introduction. But we also have our guest from University Downtown talking about their new Leadership Institute. And we have Mr. Navid, and I can't even remember his last name. Sanjani is representing the Democratic Party. He used to be the executive director at one time. We're going to talk a little politics. And I can't forget Ms. Virgie Ornelas, our guest host for today. The hostess with the mostest. So let's get right into it. Mr. Felix Fraga, everybody wants to know what you're doing nowadays. Are you retired?
Half.
Half retired? Semi-retired?
Semi-retired.
You know what? I don't believe that because I don't think this man will ever retire.
He's always doing something.
He's always on the move. So Felix, thank you for joining us again.
It's an honor. Appreciate it.
So this is what, your fifth time? Fourth time?
Somewhere along those
something
lines.
like that.
Yeah.
You lost track already. So did we. So let's learn a little bit about this. You have a tax reform act going on, and obviously you're having assistance for anybody coming to neighborhood centers or anywhere else that you have locations.
Tax preparation.
Yeah.
Tax preparation.
We do it free for people that make family income of $58,000 or less. So
Okay, free. Key word, free. I like that word.
Oh, it's helpful.
Okay.
You know, you'd be amazed how much people are spending to get their income tax done, and they could get it free if they would just take time to come over to neighborhood centers. We have a United Fund grant to do that, and it's already started, and it goes on every day. We have flyers that have the schedule of each one of the locations. There's 12 locations over the city and county. The one that's closest to the center of town is Ripley House.
The famous Ripley House.
Yes.
So obviously you have a lot of different locations within neighborhood centers that are participating, right?
Yeah, 12.
So it doesn't matter where you live in the city. If you contact a neighborhood centers, I'm sure they have this program, right?
Right, and if they want to call the 211 number at United Way, United Way has a list of all the places also.
So Pasadena, man, you got them everywhere.
No, we're scared of.
Yeah. So you're scattered all over the place. I was surprised.
Why don't we give them the locations, Ben, just so people
all right.
know where they're at.
You're gonna make me put on my glasses.
Well, I'll read it. I know.
Go ahead, read it. Go ahead.
In the Southwest, Barker Ripley Neighborhood Center, 6500 Rookin. Hiram Clark Multi-Service Center, 3810 West Fuqua. In Central Houston, we got the Ripley House Neighborhood Center right here, 4410 Navigation. The Lakewood Church at 3700 Southwest Freeway. Now that's a good location. In the West, we have the Chinese Community Center, 9800 Town Park Drive. Fort Bend County, there's United Way Fort Bend Service Center, 12300 Park Crest Drive in Stafford, Texas. Spring Branch, you have the Memorial Assistant Ministries, 1625 Blaylock Road. In North Houston, we have the Acres Home Multi-Service Center, 6719 West Montgomery. Link Houston, 161 West Road. In Southeast, we have the Sunnyside Multi-Service Center at 4605 Wilmington. And Pasadena, the Cleveland Ripley Neighborhood Center at 720 Fairmont Parkway. And even in Clear Lake, Ben, so you can go to have your tax. Well, no, you make more than $58,000 a year. 1300 Bay Area Boulevard. That's United Way Bay Area Service Center there in Clear Lake. So that's all over town.
Sure is. Wow, that's awesome.
And Ben, you'd be amazed how much people are saving by using this program.
No, I would
But
agree.
there's still many people that are paying. I wish we could find a way to
And you know
make
what?
it illegal for them to charge people for
You know what? There's a lot of people that prey on our community, and
Yeah, that's what's.
you know, and it's unfortunate. You know, they'll say they'll give you money up front, in return they keep all your cash. A lot of people need money right away, so they take advantage of these folks, whether it be paying bills or whatever it is that they're doing. And you see it.
Sure. No, I wish they were, again, that somehow the government wouldn't let people that make under 58,000 be charged. You know, make it illegal. I don't know what you can do.
The notary publics are famous for that.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all over the place in Houston.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Mr. Felix, so what all is involved? Now it says you don't take appointments. You got to walk in, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So what happened? Walk us through the process. What happened when they show up at one of your offices and they walk in?
First come, first serve every day. You sign in as you come in, and they'll take them down by the order that they came in.
Yeah.
And if you have all your information, I hear it can be done in less than 30 minutes, 15 minutes or so.
Oh, wow, that's pretty quick.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah. And really, it's the United Way keeps track of how much money people that come would have paid if they hadn't gotten it free. And it's a great donation to the
How
people.
about from last year, Miss Felix? Do you have the figure from last year? How much did they save?
I should have brought all of that, but maybe I'll get it to you somehow, Ben, and you can mention how much.
Wow.
It's good. It runs into.
Do you know about how many people you served last year?
Again, I can get those figures, and I'll get those figures and get them to you guys, and then you'll use them as you see fit.
So this is a great service that you guys are providing.
It's been going on for several years now, and I hope it keeps on going. And really, eventually, I hope that the government somehow say if people make the amount that they're eligible to get it free, you can't charge them no matter who you are, H&R Block or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, they put signs up free now also, but you get in there and it's
They charge you.
It's not free.
It's those hidden costs, kind of like those plastic surgeons. We won't mention any names.
Exactly right.
Those hidden charges get you every time. No, you know what? I know you guys do a lot of great things there besides this neighborhood center. So what are some of the other programs going on right now?
Oh gosh, we're trying to help people, get their citizenship.
Citizenship is a big one. And you have the senior citizen centers.
Yes, all of those.
Virgie, there you go.
Oh yes.
You qualify.
We were the first. We were the first community centers.
He goes, oh yeah.
He went there.
We were the first ones to start the senior citizen programs.
Oh, that's great.
We used to call it daycare for senior citizens.
Daycare. Well, you know what? That's basically what it is, right?
That's a good
Yeah.
resource.
There's more spats there than there's in elementary school. Yeah.
No, I'm just glad that we live in a country where they have United Ways and community centers. And
Yes, it is.
Virgie, I want you to take a guess how many years Mr. Felix Fraga has worked at neighborhood centers.
Oh my God, it's a lot. I remember
guess.
as a
A lot.
younger girl that
How many
I
years,
always
Felix?
remember him.
I started in 1948.
1948.
Somebody figure it out.
Wow, that's 68 years. That's a long time. Long time to work.
1948.
I was gonna drop out of school. My two oldest brothers had already dropped out of school, and I was going to the center there, Ripley House in Rusk Settlement, and they heard me saying that I was gonna have to drop out to go to work. They said, "Gosh, if you stay in school, you can work here." And I said, "Gosh, that's okay with me." And
You know, most people don't realize this, that Mr. Fraga was an all-star baseball player. Played for University of Houston. You were first base?
first base, yeah,
First base. Were you there 4 years?
for the 4 years.
4 years. And tell them who was going to recruit you for the pros.
Well, I was approached by the St. Louis Cardinal farm.
The Cardinals.
Yeah, they said if you wanted to, you can come over and start in the minor leagues and eventually work up to the top. But I thought when I graduated, I better get back to work since Ripley House.
Lots to
since
do.
Ripley House got me started. I don't want to take advantage of him and keep
Isn't
going.
that
I
on.
tell you, that's amazing. You know, that was back and forth. That was the Gas House Gang, the St. Louis
Oh
Cards.
yeah, they had they won the World Series
Yeah.
a couple of times. They were the team back then. I don't know how well they do now.
That's amazing. So he decided to work in the neighborhood centers
You know, and
over
that's-
playing
If
baseball.
you think about it, this is a few years before Jackie Robinson. You know, no, Jackie Robinson was 47. No,
I
he
have
was in
no
the
idea
50s,
what
wasn't
year.
I don't know.
No.
he? But you're about from the same era.
52 was.
52 was Jackie Robinson. Yeah.
I mean, that's when I graduated.
Yeah.
By the way, the Houston Astros are looking for players today. You think you got the arm still?
Gosh.
No?
I was
still
born
got
in
some stick.
I was born in 1929. How old am I now?
I hate to tell you, Felix.
And he's still going.
And he's still going, yeah?
That's right.
Yeah, so
86.
you're 87 years old. How do you do it? What's the secret? Is it to tea in the morning? What is it?
It's just forget how long ago you were born.
Yeah, just keep
You know
working.
what?
Don't even worry about age.
I
Right?
think part of that, though, is Nelly Fraga.
Nelly Fraga, your
Nelly
wife,
Fraga will
I
keep
thought
you
about
young.
she whips you in
She's
shape.
done her part.
She whips you in
Keeps it
shape.
going.
Well, I want to thank you for coming out.
No, thank you for this, and really, I hope people. Some people think that if you don't pay the government, they'll come after you. But this is as good as any Asian art block or anybody that does it.
Absolutely.
Now,
I agree.
Mr. Felix, will you also help with back forms that they haven't
Yes,
filled out,
yes,
that they
sure,
haven't done?
sure,
That's
sure.
With back years, if you
Yeah.
haven't filled out, and
You can pay your taxes now.
yeah, well, now they owe me a refund.
You know, and I've heard that if people here or don't have their residency, if they pay their income tax, if you're working, the people that do their income tax don't ask you whether you're legally or not.
How about that?
And if you're
So-
working and also if you learn English, and we teach English at Ripley House and neighborhood centers.
So what you're saying is IRS will take your money no matter what. If you're a citizen, non-citizen, they'll take your
But
money.
that's good
But
to know.
they won't deport you. I mean, not the Internal Revenue.
right.
The other guys get a hold of you.
Right.
So I don't know. People that working, if they want to, they start paying their income tax and start learning English, and eventually they'll have a lot easier time of getting their regular citizenship.
Good point. Well, appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
We're gonna take a 2-minute break. When we come back, we're gonna talk politics. As you know, we have an election in Iowa today, presidential race going on. So is Trump gonna make it, or is Trump not gonna make it? Is the question. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Is Trump going to trumple?
Is he gonna Trump on Trump?
2 and 2. Yay.
Welcome back to Latino Talk TV. I'm your host, Ben Mendez, joined by my co-host, Mr. Javier Perez, and we have a special hostess with the mostest, Ilsa Garcia. Not to be confused with Elsa Garcia, the Tejano artist. But we also are going to talk a little politics. It's kind of exciting. We have the former head of the Democratic Party, Mr. Navid, is in the house. I want you to know Navid is very familiar with elections here in Harris County. But we're going to talk a little bit about Iowa. As you know, we have a presidential race in Iowa.
Correct.
Primary
Actually a caucus.
caucus.
And so let's get right to it. What are your thoughts? Who's going to win the Republican side?
So it's really interesting. Right now we have, I think campaign-wise, people who really have the ground game set up is right now Ted Cruz has a pretty much a team out there doing the work that needs to be done. Rubio does as well. Question comes up: does the work that Trump has been doing on a national level, the media work that he's been doing, does it really count for people coming out and caucusing for him? Does he have leaders in place that will do that work? And so we'll see tonight.
You know, that's a good point, Naveed, because caucusing is not a simple process.
It's not.
It is very difficult and time consuming. I mean, there's people that haven't done it are in for a real surprise. And so basically, yeah, Mr. Trump says he's popular with everybody and he's on everybody's polls. But how can he transform those poll numbers into people that are actually going to caucus for him? That's what's going to come down to. And I'm afraid it's not going to be as good as he thought.
I agree. And however, what kind of momentum can you get from that? So the fact that he hasn't taken any donations, he's using his own money, right? He's banking on that. Number two, he's also saying that his notoriety will be big enough and lively enough to overcome all those, as he says, politicians. I'm a businessman and I can do better than everybody else.
Now, he'll probably pay people to send him to the caucus. He can always do that.
Well, it's going to be interesting. So maybe what we need to do is look at the case study on how he does it. If he succeeds, people are going to be taking a look very closely on how he did it.
So you, as the average person in Houston, Texas,
Now,
what are your
Ilsa
thoughts?
has never been average.
Thank you, Javier.
Never been
So
average.
what are your thoughts on the Republican side? Who's your favorite and why?
Well, I will put it out there. I don't follow the Republican side as much, but I really like Ted Cruz. I do like his background as a person, average person, and a person who has more family values. I like the commercial that he put out there where his mother-in-law was speaking on his behalf in Spanish and in English. I think that was a great catch for the Hispanic community. She spoke in Spanish.
I didn't
And
see
so
that.
it was his mother-in-law, and they were talking about the church they attended and how the family values, how he's a great family man. And in the Hispanic community, we go for that.
Your thoughts?
I think, if he's going to be going after a certain demographic, especially in Iowa, I think Hispanics are not a large portion of what Iowa is. However, he's done a good job. His campaign has done a good job of making those inroads within those communities. And bear in mind, Iowa is in comparison to what Texas is a very small state, right? And so if he's able to create teams in these different cities to go out there and create that support that he needs, then he'll succeed.
Now, I will tell you, I like Rubio over Ted Cruz and Trump and the Republican side. I think he's very charismatic. He's very knowledgeable about the issues, being a senator from Florida. Trump just doesn't have that knowledge base.
Mm-hmm.
And Senator Cruz has a history of not working with his own party. How is he going to work with other parties if he doesn't even work with his own party? So it's going to be kind of interesting what happens tonight. At 7 p.m., I'm assuming the polls close. Is that correct? The caucusing closes?
That's when it starts.
I believe it's starting around there.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So we won't know until what time? 10 p.m.?
that's usually how it pans out when the numbers get counted. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So explain to me that process. So you have the voters that go vote. So what happens after that? What's the process?
They don't
vote.
They don't vote. It's a caucus.
So it's
Okay,
a
so
caucus.
explain to me the process.
So they basically go through a process where they go to actually imagine a large room,
Okay.
right? And in this room there'll be someone holding a sign for, let's say on the Democratic side, how they're doing it is they'll have a sign for Bernie Sanders, and they'll have a sign for Hillary Clinton, and they'll have a sign for Martin O'Malley, and they'll have an undecided area.
Okay.
And so those individuals go to those different areas, and then certain organizers will come to the undecided area to garner the other voters to come along. And sometimes some other people will go around the room trying to bring over people from the other caucuses into their own group. So you'll probably see, former Secretary Hillary Clinton's team going over to Martin O'Malley's area and saying, "Why don't you just come over with us?" And so we can broaden our numbers. So it's a very unique process. We used to have it here in Texas. Actually, it was called the Texas two-step, where we go vote in a primary and then we would caucus. But our Democratic Party in state and the federal level changed that rule up because it was kind of confusing for a lot of people and made it a pure primary process.
So does each county caucus, or is it one big caucus altogether?
I believe each area caucus is
Each
on there.
county.
Correct.
Okay.
Because you need separated. Basically, that's how they count the caucuses. Is because you can't, obviously, if you're in let's say Des Moines and you're in Fairfield, you have different. It's a too far of an area to actually go out and caucus. So they'll be in different areas around there doing that.
Okay, so let's talk about the Democratic side. Who's your nominee?
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton. Why?
I really like what I'm just going to put it out there. I mean, she already was president a few years ago while her husband was in office. I mean, I'm sure she was ahead of a lot of the decisions that he made. And lately, I know there's a lot of things against her, but I think we're ready for a woman to be a president. Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I like Hillary. I think she was very presidential when she was Secretary of State. And that's what really changed my mind, the way she conducted herself as Secretary of State. So, but I tell you, I love what Bernie Sanders says. I love what he says. I love the way he says it. I just don't think he's electable.
I like the fact that he said that free college tuition.
Yeah.
Free college tuition. I don't know how he's going to pay for that, but
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the Nixon McGovern election. Man, I'm going back there. This is what, 68? But I mean, Nixon just tarred and feathered McGovern in the general election. It was like got 75% of the vote or something like that. You know, it was some ungodly number like that. And I love what Bernie Sanders is saying, but I just don't think he's electable.
I like Hillary. I think she has most experience. She's had multiple roles throughout her lifetime. So I look forward to the challenge to see what happens tonight.
Absolutely.
So who you're picking?
So I haven't actually made it. I'm undecided right now, and the other reason is because I'm the president of the Harris County Democrats. I can't really. I have to be sort of unbiased to it. However, we have two wonderful candidates. Actually, three wonderful candidates at the end of the day. They're representing different segments and ideologies within the party itself. So we have, Secretary Clinton, who talks about the issues that are at hand that is more of a broad message for everybody, and has a very set profile. You know, she's done different governance, from being formerly the first lady to becoming a senator to becoming Secretary of State, and the work that she did prior to that as an attorney, right? And then you have Senator Sanders, who was a mayor. Became a congressman and a senator. And then we have Martin O'Malley, who's a former governor of, and so I would say we have a very nice, broad spectrum of individuals who are going to give different ideas. And ultimately, I personally like what actually the Democratic Party obviously says, because it really comes down to what we've been working for under the president right now.
Mm-hmm.
So any predictions?
Predictions. I would say right now I would be open to say that it would be a toss up between Hillary and Bernie in Iowa. I would say in New Hampshire that Bernie is probably solid there.
And what about on the Republican side?
Republican side, I think it would be, if I was to be conservative with it, I would say it would be between Cruz and Rubio.
Oh yeah? Mm-hmm. You don't think Trump will be a factor?
I think he'll be a factor, but I'm saying point is if one or the other pulls out, I think it will be either Cruz or Rubio. But again, I don't know what the ground game for Donald Trump is. Okay. So if he does have something, then it overcomes. But I know for a fact that Rubio and Cruz have people on the ground working.
One last question for you. If it's between Ted Cruz and Hillary Clinton, who is it?
I'm still sticking with Hillary.
Hillary, okay.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you for coming out.
Great.
Appreciate your time. I know you're going to be watching TV like probably everybody in the United States is. what's going to happen in Iowa.
Absolutely.
And then we have the upcoming race here,
That's
Super
right.
Tuesday.
That's right.
Is it March 1st or March?
It's March 1st.
March 1st.
And so the more important thing is with that race, we have our presidentials, but we have our down ballots. Someone take a look at right now, especially in our state and county, as a former state representative Lon Burnham, who's running for railroad commissioner. Actually, I'm seeing signs already for railroad commissioner, and technically people don't even know what the railroad commissioner is. It is actually our energy commission.
Oil and gas.
Oil and gas. And so that's going to be a very, very important position. Another one that people are going to start talking about is their tax assessor collector. Again, it is about the tax rolls that we have. At the same time, so our voter rolls and how that individual will preside over voter registration.
Not to mention Gene Green versus Adrian Garcia.
That's a big one as well. And so that one's that's very much in the community, right? So it's very much a very district-centric,
Grassroots.
very grassroots-based.
Yep.
And we'll see how, number one, I purely think people usually say it's either going to be mail or media, but this is going to be about knocking on doors. So whoever can really get out there, knock on those doors, do a knock and drag, get people in vans, vehicles out to the polls, is going to be the person who's going to win.
Agreed.
Yep.
Again, thank you for coming out.
Absolutely.
And we always love to have you because you're very knowledgeable about politics here in Harris County.
Appreciate
So
it.
next time we'll talk about the winners.
Yes, let's do that.
All right, we'll be back in 2 minutes. When we come back, we're going to talk about the University of Houston Downtown Leadership Program that they just started. So join us in 2 minutes. This is Ben Mendez with Latino Talk TV. Thank you for joining us. As you can see, we multiplied. Just typical Mexicans, right? We know how to multiply. We have all 5, 6 people sitting around, and we're going to talk a little bit about the leadership program that started at University of Houston downtown. We have a new co-host here, Ricardo Alvarez, and our special guest here. Is it Doctor?
It is.
Yes.
Dr. Gene Preuss.
Right.
Wow, you're a doctor. Got to be careful what I say. You need to be careful what you say. The PhD. Where did you go to school anyway?
I have 2 degrees, a bachelor's and a master's from Texas State in San Marcos. It used to be Southwest Texas when I went there. But Texas State, and then I took my PhD in history at Texas Tech.
Do you still have the wine corks?
Um,
Because you know that was a party school.
at Texas Tech, it's mostly beer tabs from Sam.
Beer tabs.
But at Texas Tech, we threw tortillas, and so tortillas,
Oh
they
yeah.
don't keep very well.
Interesting.
Interesting.
So let's talk a little bit about this initiation of the program. Why did you all decide that you wanted a leadership program?
Well, that's a great idea, a great question. In the Hispanic community, and UHD is a Hispanic serving institution, over 40% of our students are Hispanic. And we do a lot, another 24% are African American. So we like to think that we're one of the most diverse campuses in Texas, if not the United States. We serve a majority-minority population. And that's very important. If you look at high school graduation, for example, in Texas, if you take 100 8th graders, only 20 are ever going to get a college degree or certificate of any kind. I mean, that's not good numbers. But if you look at minority students, only 10 of them will. So we're almost half behind on the educational process. And so one of the things that we think is very important is how do we leverage our opportunities? We're the fastest growing population in Texas and the United States. We're growing, we're running for office, we are getting educated, and we need to transition that into roles of leadership. And there are many good leadership programs out there. Ben, you have been very influential. You're actually, can I say this, sitting on our board right now?
Sure.
So we appreciate the input that you have with NBHO and NHPO and other organizations and other leaderships. However, there's always, because there's such a need, there's always room for more. And we as a university can add that academic emphasis as well. So you don't have to be a college graduate. It helps. But what we need people who have the skills and the training in order to get ahead, to be voices for their community. One of the things that we decided early on is what do we want the focus of our leadership program to be? It's HHLI, right, Houston Hispanic Leadership Initiative. And we held focus groups. We had 3 or 4 different focus groups, about 40 members of the Hispanic community who came in. We said, what do you think the community needs? What's important? How do we take this vast growing number of Hispanics and what is it they need to move into the 21st century? And people said leadership, and they need education, and they need opportunities to get ahead. And so one of the things that we focused on, and again, you were on the board, so you were there for some of these meetings, was advocacy. And it's not just, what does advocacy mean? Does it mean running for office? Yes. Does it mean, fighting for your rights? Yes. But it also means that parent, that mother, that single mother with 2 or 3 children in school, and the kids come in and they say, things aren't going well, I'm being mistreated, the teacher is making fun of me in class, and that teacher needs to learn how to advocate. That parent needs to learn how to advocate to the teacher for her children's rights. And how do we speak up for ourselves, and how do we get that voice? So advocacy takes on so many different dimensions, and we think that's why it's so important, and that's what we want the focus of this initiative to be.
When we were creating the curriculum, we were kind of dictating, okay, what is it that other leadership programs are doing? What's missing? what is NHPO not doing, what is the chamber not doing, American Leadership Forum, et cetera, et cetera. And what he was describing is what's missing. And so we catered the classes so that students can get a feel what's going on at the city level, the county level, HISD. Find out what are the real issues that we need to advocate for. Bring in some great speakers. I'm sure you're going to have many, many speakers that we talk about the history and where we're going in the future, because you got to bring in that history piece. People have to know what's going on 20 years back and 20 years forward.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's near and dear to my heart. I'm a historian. So I teach Mexican American history. And I have students all the time who ask me, Dr. Preuss, why didn't we learn this before? Why didn't we learn about these leaders? Why didn't we learn about this movement? Why didn't we learn any of this in high school? And I always say, well, look, you're in college and you're all the opportunity to learn more. So, you're going to learn new things. So don't feel bad about that if you haven't heard about this before. But the thing is that to know where we are now and where we're going, we have to learn where we came from and how we got to where we are and why. And that's the way you begin to solve some of those problems. You solve the problems of the past. We've all groups in American history have faced discrimination of one form or the other. And the problem is, rather than focusing on the problems of the past, we have to be aware of them. And we don't need to be ashamed of them, but we need to learn how to fix them so we don't make those same mistakes again. And that's why the history piece is so important. There's been so many leaders, but women have been largely overlooked in the Hispanic history, and there have been strong leaders. One of the first Chicana conferences in the United States was held right here in Houston in the 70s. No one's written anything about it. There have been famous leaders who have spoken up, and we need to emulate them. We need to build other leaders to do the same thing so that we can continue to move forward. And Hispanics have been successful business people. They have been strong teachers. They have been strong politicians and leaders. And we need to let our children know that these are role models that we can look for. You just don't have to, do the same job that, your parents did, that you have opportunities that may transcend that. That, not to be ashamed of your parents, but you have opportunities, and that's what education is about.
And Dr. Price, now that you speak of that, is part of the curriculum in the Institute a history class? Or
We do infuse the history of the Latino community, both in Houston and greater. That is going to be part of the curriculum. We just had our first meeting, so it was basically orientation, but this is intended to be part of the curriculum. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And they had Dr. Reguera as one of the speakers, one of our alumni.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That's
So, by the way, these are all graduates from, except for this young man right here, we're all graduates from the NHPO Leadership Institute. So we're excited to see a leadership program at University of Houston downtown that really captures the students and learning process about what else is out there besides NHPO LI, Houston Hispanic Chamber, ALF, and all these other, Leadership Houston. So your core group, 9 students, is going to be going through a transition, because what you start off today is going to be totally different in 5-10 years from now. I guarantee you your classes are going to change, your instructors are going to change. You're going to find out who are the dedicated folks that really believe in your mission and those that are not. And based on that, you're going to determine, okay, who's going to stick with the program long term and who's going to mold the mindset of these students. So
one of the principles, and that's exactly right. One of the principles we're operating on is that we need to learn from the past. We need to learn from what other people are doing. We need to learn from watching other people and from getting community input. There is there's always a concern whenever you have a bunch of academics in the room is that, these people are going to say, oh, we're the experts. Don't worry, we'll figure out your problems and tell you how to solve them. And what we want to do, and this is why we started those focus groups, is we wanted to hear what the community has. What are the problems? What are the challenges that the community faces? And we want to hear it from people in the community. And then together, we need to bring what they used to call the town versus the gown, right? The academic regalia. We need to bring those two together so that we use the strengths already in the community and we use the strengths in the academy together to solve the problems. And that's what we should be doing. Everybody says, well, all those people with PhDs, they're, staring at their own navels and, pondering, the great mysteries of life. This is a way of bringing the resources that our students, whenever they go out and they invest that 4 to 6 years in college, and whenever they graduate, how can they bring it back to the community so it's an investment and it's a return on that investment. One of the things that we're very happy about, for example, we just started an honors program at UH Downtown. Just started an honor program, so this is the second year, and it is over 40% Hispanic. It is strongly, we have a lot of good students, and that's something that the broader community often ignores, is we've got a lot of good, smart students. They're A students. Some of them carry 4.0s or 3.5 to 4.0s. They're bright, they're intelligent, and they've got so much to give back, and we want to capitalize on that.
I want them to talk a little bit about the Leadership Institute that they belong to with NHPO, to get the feedback as to what they experienced through their semester, because our course is a semester, yours is a semester. It's actually every other Saturday for 10 Saturdays. So the total of 20 Saturdays, if you include those that we don't go to class. So we'll start off with Ricardo. Ricardo, tell us a little bit about your experience, what you perceived, and then by the time you finish, what was reality?
To start, whenever I heard about the LI classes and everything, I didn't think that I needed them. I thought that I had the experience and I had the skills to help the community like anybody else. Of course, when I actually got into the program and I went through the whole process, it was totally different. That it did change my life. One of the things that I think that all as a group or as a class, we all wanted to contribute, wanted to give back to the community one way or another. We just didn't know how. And I think that's where the LI classes took place, and it helped us find our voice, and it helped us find the way for us to succeed or to achieve, what we wanted.
How about you, Virgie?
I agree with him, and it was really a life-changing experience for me. And
your husband.
Yes, we kind of tricked him into it, but he really gravitated and did very well. And I've never left. I'm still there, and so I help Javier and Pat facilitate the class, and so I love it. It's just, I've been on a board since 2000, and I thought I knew more than what I did. And when I took this course and learned so much, it's like, wow, it expanded so much more than what I thought I knew. So I love it, and I love giving back. And like I've been a volunteer forever, but this truly inspired me to do a lot of other things. So
great.
It's great.
Ilsa?
Well, for me, it was a little bit different. I had heard about the LI Institute. Well, I've always wanted to know what nonprofit organizations, how they get started. And because you always have these ideas and you want to give back also to the community. And that was originally how I came in, very quiet, and I just kind of listened. But every class you learn something from media, from speaking to the media to learning. I never was in a Robert's Rules of Order. I never knew what that was. I went in there, learned so many things, and now it's my second year I serve on the NHPO board, that I thought I would never do something like that, and I really enjoy it. You just get a lot of experience, things that you would never think you would do. Once you join these institutes and leadership skills, you give back the community in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
And before we get to Javi on that, there's two different entities, just so you know. We have the Leadership Institute, which is part of NHPO, and we also have the NHPO group, which is separate in part. So the NHPO focuses on networking, career opportunities. The Leadership Institute is more about learning how to become a nonprofit board member, how to become a leader in the community. So Javier?
Well, not just that, Ben, but it's also become how to become a effective volunteer.
Sure, servant leader.
And how to become a servant leader. That I think is real important. I mean, because there's all kinds of leaders out there, but servant leadership, well, you're not serving yourself, you're serving the community. And that's what I think that we push the most, and that's what we try to instill in our graduates and in our alumni. I said, go out there. I said, this isn't about you and me. I said, this is about we and us, and this is about making a change in this melting pot, you know, that's like nowhere else in this country called Houston. I mean, I never knew there were so many different Hispanics till I started with the Leadership Institute.
And by the way, Pat and Javier, they joined NHPLI together. And Pat wouldn't come out of her shell. I mean, I guess she didn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
She was in her little shell, and we helped her come out of her shell. And it's good to see her get involved now.
Yeah. Yes. You know, and I tell you, man, one of my probably my most important, servant leader, you know, that I hold to my heart, to this day, I think about this gentleman all the time, my father-in-law. My father-in-law was a fantastic servant leader. He couldn't tell you, he probably never heard the term before, but through his actions and the way he gave back to the community, and the way, not only the way he gave back, but his actions, what he did, who he was doing it for. I mean, it still inspires me today to do them. And I tell Pat all the time, because I had lunch with Mike Barber today, the ex-Houston Oiler, from the Lovey Blue days. He runs the prison ministry he's had. One thing he told me, he said, you know what? When you ride high in the saddle, you get shot at. And when you're riding high in the saddle, you're going to get shot at. That's all there is to it. And another thing he told me was that, you know what? It says if you have to explain something, he goes, your friends won't need to hear it. Your enemies won't believe it anyway. So it's real important that we have, and that's what I think. What I love about the LI is that you don't just graduate and go away and go do great things or whatever. Is that we have that alumni association where people keep coming back and people they stay plugged in.
Yes.
And they're supporting each other. You got to have that support group, man. I mean, because it's lonely at the top. It's lonely at the top. And sometimes you need just that support, people helping you and helping you through different things that are going on.
I think that's a real important message. And you were saying that Pat and you had mentioned that you were kind of quiet and shy. I think that one of the things that really troubles me, I was doing a little bit of research on nonprofits a couple of days ago, and if you look at who manages nonprofits, it's predominantly men. Nothing against you guys, but but 60% of nonprofits are staffed predominantly by women, but they're run by men. Women have been absent from that leadership for many years. In fact, Juliet Stepetch, was trying to do some research on how many women really serve on boards. She tried to contact those boards. Nobody wanted to tell her. They didn't want to give her the information. And that's supposed to be public information on nonprofits. But they didn't want to say. What happens, and I think, this is true of the Hispanic community, but it's true of other communities too. Women are told, you do the work, you take care of things, let the men run things. And I think we need to change that. One of the things we see at the university, nationally, women make up 60% of college students. That's much different when I was in college in the 90s and in the 80s. And going back even further, women were sometimes the anomaly, right? They were, there might be one or two women in the classroom. Now that we see more women in the classroom, we need to start seeing more women on the boards. And we need to see women given those leadership skills. And the reason they don't have them, a lot of them don't have, is because we have neglected them, right? They haven't been in, and so it's good to see that that women are advancing and leading, because as you guys were talking about a few minutes ago, we may see a woman in the White House.
And it's really that's a good point that you're making, Gene. And I tell you, when we look back in the when we started the Leadership Institute back in the day, we've been around about 6 going on 7 years. Well, ever since it started, it's about 70% women. Is that about right?
I would say majority, by far.
Great, by far majority is the ladies that are in the course, and these are dynamic women. The last 2 chairmen of NHPO have both been women. You know, and the chairman now, Sonia Rivera, you know, and they're strong women,
Graduates of the LI.
graduates of the LI, and they're great leaders in their own right.
Not to mention your boss is a woman,
Yeah, my boss.
your wife. So
Tell me what to do.
So let's talk a little bit about the future for the Leadership Institute. So it's a semester course. Is it going to be like fall, spring, or is it fall, summer, spring? Or what's the plan?
Well, we're looking at all the options right now. We're trying to get feedback. One of the things we have to do in higher education and education in general we're always about assessment. You know, did we do what we said we're going to do? How well did we do it? What can we do to make it better? And so this is one of the things we were talking about just today, right after we had our first session on Saturday, and we're already talking about how can we improve it, what can we do differently, and when we need to sit down bring the board in and say, this is what we found out so far, this is where we are, this is where we'd like to go and get some feedback. Right now, the term started in January, and it's going to run until June. And so we're looking at that, and we need to evaluate, is that viable? Do we want to extend it? Do we want to do more than one session per year? Do we want to have two? One of the big things that we think is important that we've learned from other leaderships and from feedback is networking is important. We don't want to just say, okay, it's June. Hey, thanks a lot. Good luck, and
Exactly right.
more.
Exactly right.
We need to bring them back in. We need to make sure that those connections, that cohort sticks around because it's the personal connections that really give us opportunities. By knowing someone who is successful, by knowing someone who's on a board, someone who's leading an organization, someone who's active, knowing what opportunities are out there, that's how we can advance. And so we want to keep it ongoing and not just say, well, it ends in June, so see you guys later.
But and at the same time, Gene, it's very important that, and that's I think one of the advantages of the NHPO Leadership Institute is that every semester you got that fresh blood in there. You got that fresh blood. I mean, people get in there, they take it, and kind of cool down. But that fresh blood of the next class that comes in, that next group and that next band of dedicated leaders come in there, and they keep you going, man. They keep you hopping. I mean, Virgie's been here since what, class 8?
8.
I've been around since class 2.
Class 11.
Class 11. Ben was class 1. So I mean,
old guy.
He's the old guy, the old man.
I've always known he was first class.
There you go.
So let's get back to when we first started LI. One thing that we did was we looked at ALF and Leadership Houston because those were the only two that were in existence, and they were charging $7,000 for a semester. $7,000. I mean, I don't know about you all, but I didn't have $7,000 to give for a class for one semester. And so we wanted to create a class that was affordable. So our class obviously is not $7,000 because that's too much money, but we made it reasonable enough so that people could participate in the leadership programs. And so that's one thing that you all did as well. You made it reasonable. And I was very glad to see that because our gente needs opportunities that are affordable. The other thing that we did was we made it on Saturdays because most colleges or leadership programs, they take a day out of the week. Our people cannot afford to take a day off just to go to a leadership class. And what days are yours?
Saturdays.
Saturdays, okay. So we did ours on Saturdays. It was pretty much a 7-8 hour day. I know it seems like a long day, but the reality is those days go quick.
Yes.
And before you know it, it's 4 o'clock. It's time to go home. And so those were the two things that we did that really helped us attract the folks. Not to mention our personal networks, because everybody has friends that invited other candidates, if you will, to participate in the process. So I know that you guys have a pool of students. You guys obviously have potential students for the Leadership Institute right there, leadership program that you have. So the program that you all have, is it being marketed to the students or is it being marketed to the graduates of UHD?
It's being marketed to the general community. We are going to market to our own students, and we already have several of our alumni who are in the program. We have 3 alumni who are in the program. And they're also alumni, I think, of your program as well. What we're looking for is someone who has been active in the community, who wants to work and then wants to take it to another level. And that's not to say that, if you're at this level, that you'll be excluded. No, we want you too. And that's one of the nice things, is because we have people coming in at different levels, and they can have some peer mentoring, peer tutoring, and they can work together, share experiences, work on a project, and serve the community, and then build off of each other. And we think that dynamic is really nice in the way it's working out. We saw that almost immediately from the group. But we do want our students to be involved, and you're right, we wanted to make it affordable, and we didn't want it to interfere with other jobs that they had. We thought, some of our students may be involved 9 to 5 at nonprofits already. So how do they find time for us? Do it on Saturday. The other thing we want to do is make it affordable. Very lucky, we have some very great sponsors that have been helping us in order to provide scholarships for those students, participants who can't afford it. And so that's also nice as well.
Give us a breakdown of some of your professors that are teaching the classes.
Our lead is Dr. Viola Garcia, and she taught for many years in the Department of Urban Ed. She's also on the board for all Dean schools, and she is leading the program. Ray is helping quite a bit. I'm helping. I'm there Saturday mornings bright and early. Dr. Sandra Garcia, who is very good with fundraising and grant writing. She's also there. And then we're bringing in some other people from the community.
That's great. You got to have those people that are not part of UVHD to come in and talk about their experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can tell you one person that you need, or actually two people that you really need, Dr. Kleinberg and Larry Payne.
Yeah.
Those are two dynamic speakers that they have a lot to share for your class, that's for sure. Any last minute questions? No?
No.
Ricardo?
What?
I know Javi always has questions. I don't even have to ask.
So
I know you have a question.
how many people are in the program right now?
Right now there's 9, the first inaugural cohort.
Well, I do
That's
have one
gonna be a tight
question.
group. That's going to be a tight group.
Just a quick question. Ultimately, at the end of the program, what do you want your students, where do you want them to go? What do you want to see from them?
You were talking earlier about boards. One of the things that we do want is we do want board training. So, they need to know ethics and legal issues, how to read a budget. So, how, as you were saying earlier, how to run a meeting. Those types of skills are going to be integral to the success, and that's one of the things we want to do is we need more representation, and not just people, doing the work. We also need people making the decisions.
And I appreciate all of y'all for coming out and being our guest host.
Thank you.
And
for
thank
having
you
us.
so much
Thank
for
you
your
for all your
time,
help.
because I know you're a very busy guy. He's also the assistant to the president at the University of Houston downtown, Dr. Flores. Again, thank y'all. So we'll see you next week. It's live television every Monday night, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. So we'll see you. Bye.